Is there something specific about obesity itself that causes people to have a more likelihood of a severe case of COVID, or is it just that the way in which people become obese um, comes with associated health problems that are what's driving the severe cases of COVID that tend to be more prevalent in the obese cohort?
I'm not sure. I mean, this probably deserves a lot of debate, but I would say that not so much obesity itself as being beyond your personal fat threshold is a driver of inflammation. And what that means is that everyone has a certain capacity to easily store extra energy. And it's not the storage of energy that is problematic. It is exceeding your personal capacity to store that energy to the point where, if you and generally it strongly correlates with obesity because you're not going to be exceeding your personal storage capacity if you're lean unless you have like a genetic problem with lipodystrophy, which means there are rare people who like can't store normal amounts of fat. They have all the same metabolic problems that an obese person has, because the problem is because their personal fat threshold is almost non-existent, and so just having fat in your body is basically exceeding it. But so that tends to correlate pretty well with obesity to the point where if you sort of like, I mean, you could sort of measure inflammatory markers in your blood, measure free fatty acids in your blood, and measure your blood sugar, and like you can know your metabolic health. And if you're obese and you have the
Mhm.
metabolic markers that tend to go along with that, then you can infer that losing weight would be one way to get those under control. Um,
Well, how come so many people who are overweight in America had COVID and had a relatively mild experience, and then other people who seem to be relatively, and I know age is a big factor and all these other things, but generally speaking,
well, right. I mean, exact like you kind of hit the nail on the head right there. Like the same reason that like 90-year-olds get COVID and don't die. Because these things are risk factors. But like if you take 100 obese people and you measure all the inflammatory biomarkers in their blood, like some of those people are going to be metabolically healthy and some aren't. And part of it's going to be a matter of where they hold the fat. So if you hold more visceral abdominal fat, you have a worse metabolic outcome than if you hold more subcutaneous fat. So actually, ironically, like a lot of the people who look fatter are metabolically healthier than people who don't look as fat, because you can have someone who overwhelmingly stores their fat as visceral abdominal fat, and they kind of have a belly, but they don't look like, they take their shirt off, they don't have like rolls of flab or anything like that. They might have the same body fat that someone who has like rolls of flab hanging, who looks fatter from just like a visual perspective, but is actually metabolically much healthier because their fat is mostly contained as subcutaneous fat. But those are factors that are largely beyond someone's control. Like it's generally, if you gain weight, you will gain in visceral abdominal fat, and if you lose weight, you'll lose visceral abdominal fat. It's just some people might gain 60-40, other people might gain 75-20, and other people might gain something totally different.